What's up, everybody? Gentry 101 back, and we're going to be doing some turbos on this thing finally. Got some brand new parts ordered from FCP Euro. So I'm going to be replacing all of these turbo lines, turbos, seals, and vacuum lines have already been done, so I'm not going to have to worry about that so much. What I have got done already is I've taken off our airbox, which is two 10 millimeters and a connector for the mass airflow, and taken off our cowling here, which is held on by an assortment of 8 millimeters. Engine cover is going to be 5 millimeter Allen, and then our passenger side crossbar, which is a E14 and E18. All of that is off underneath the vehicle. I'm not going to crawl under there to show you that. All the paneling is off. I have the, at least on these diesels, it's a triangle type of not strut brace. It's a triangle support beam, and it's held on by 16 millimeters. So all of those are off. Removing the DPF and get that off of there so you can really see how bad these are. But a whole bunch of oil burning at idle and at highway speeds, which is the majority of my driving. So getting these replaced, lifetime warranty, FCP, cannot go wrong with that. Great customer service. Returns are stupid easy if you do have to go forth with returns for that. So stay tuned. All right, we're going to try this head mounted thing. So this whole vacuum distribution, I did what I could to label these and to save time and frustration of trying to figure out how to film this and show you all. I did it off camera. So I have these labeled essentially block, meaning to me goes here, valve, meaning it goes to one of the actual valves here, and then passenger or driver, as you can see with these over here. And then the there is a big one that goes across all the way down to the low pressure turbo, and that will connect to where I'll be able to show you here in a second. Majority of these vacuum lines have been replaced relatively recently. These connectors will have to come off. It's got these safety pins, this little booger cracked on that one. Essentially, you're going to have to get that slid up and then be able to get to this your normal little tab for the connector. Once you get both of those off, there's going to be a connector right here, and this is for the to read the pressure. I took it off at the banjo line or banjo bolt versus trying to take it off at the worm clamp. This little connector is going to go underneath, and I'll show you that now. So that is going to, where did it go? Right here. It's going into here, and this can essentially, and get this vacuum line out of the way, this can now, and this connector that's stuck can be flopped up and out the way, and we can see a lot more with what we're doing right now. This 10 millimeter is going to come off. We're going to get our heat shield off. This intake with the crankcase valve needs to come off. It's just held on by a E10, and then there's one connector here and a clip here. Do not lose that clip, and that is going to slide off and then come right out, and I'll demonstrate that now, hopefully by not losing this clip. I've had it spring off before. I think it can. There it goes. Okay. And then this can come right out of there once you unconnect or disconnect that. And this can be put out of the way. A little bit of oil from right here is pretty normal. These do go bad and they're very easy to replace, but this one's new. So hopefully it's not bad already. What I'm going to do now is start by getting these heat shields off as well. And it's just held on by an assortment of 10 millimeters. One more right down there, which I'll get with a wrench. And we'll be able to start getting rock and rolling with this thing. Once we get that, there's going to be some 5 millimeter Allens, 2 on the low or high pressure side up here. There's only 1 down here, 2 down here again on the high pressure going into the low pressure turbo. And we should be able to, once we get this off, these off, there's going to be some 12-point sockets underneath this heat shield, and this upper turbo or high pressure turbo should be about ready to come out. So I'm gonna get going on that right now. Was two E14s right here, and then three 11 millimeters here. Again, 14 millimeters for our banjo bolts for the oil lines. We do have this return line that I'm probably going to take off from all the way down on the bottom. So I'll take everybody downstairs and we'll see what that's going to look like. Those 5 millimeters that we're holding the high pressure and the low pressure tubes, I do have all out, and I do have all new O-rings for those as well, which will be probably one of the hardest part, is getting those reseated in there. So yeah, let's jump under here and see what our best bet's gonna be and get this oil line off. Hopefully you can see all that oil that's been leaking out of there. Well, not like any of us can see that. So let's go back up top. Tiny garage problems. And 5 millimeter Allen. Let's see. Yeah, because why not? Let's put a really difficult 5 millimeter Allen right there for us to get to. So that's going to be that right there. The oil pipe on the bottom taken off, and here is our little baby turbo. So now we can start working on the lower turbo, which is going to it's only got 2 bolts up top holding it on now, and those are going to be those 2 there. There's bolts for the wastegate that go into the exhaust manifold, so we'll get those off. There's another 10 millimeter, maybe you can see that back there, for the back part of the heat shield. We got new gaskets. Again, everything's from FCP Euro. Can't beat that lifetime warranty. No, I'm not sponsored by them, just been purchasing their products for a very long time now. Again, we got all new lines. Trying to see what else really that you might be able to see from up top. Here is our 2 sensors that have been retained from our DPF, and those are obviously disconnected and came up from right there. Probably gonna get under here, get this DPF removed, and loosen up the engine mount. Like I said, it's gonna have to be replaced anyway. We'll be able to get a jack under here, kind of support the engine, lift everything up out of the way. Get underneath the vehicle now. There's three, I think it was T40, could be T30, I guess we'll find out when we get under there. That, I guess it's like a little protection bracket covering up the bottom of the engine mount. I already took the 16mm off the top of the engine mount. I do not know how well this is going to work. Holy crap, look at that, it was a T40. Okay, so there's these 3 bolts here. And get them off. 2 E12s for the bottom part of the engine mount before this bracket will come out of the way. But before that, I'm gonna get my jack. Hopefully I can find a block of wood under here somewhere and get that kind of lifted up here, kind of support the engine from the oil pan. 3/8 for whatever reason, ATM decided to put 3/8 on here instead of you know, using metric, because they developed something for a German vehicle. But anyway, so I've got both of those loose right above the AC compressor. And again, the camera's mounted on my head, so hopefully you can see there is a bracket with 2 13mm. I went ahead and loosened that. That bracket will have to come off to get the the low pressure big bottom section of the turbo. I do know over here, again, hoping you can see that, 13mm to the bottom back side of the turbo, and then a couple 13mm above the passenger side engine mount arm, and that's the bracket supporting the bottom half of the turbo. And then those 12 points, 2 12-point bolts that were left over, we've already got those off. I think, and I say I think because I haven't looked up the repair instructions, I think that'll be it. I really don't want to take this heavy intercooler off of here, and I'm sure it's full of oil, which is just gonna make things even more fun. But I think once we get all this off, this big old low pressure turbo will be ready to come out the way. We'll see if we have to remove the engine arm. I don't know if we will once I support the engine, kind of get it lifted up just a little bit, but we'll see. Time will tell, I guess. But again, 2 13s, 3 13s, the DPF is off, and we should be good to go. If not, I'll definitely report back. So we got the old turbo out. As you can see, engine mount and arm definitely needed to come out. Made my life a whole lot easier. What was there, something that I was forgetting? So there's a bracket that goes right there above the AC compressor, a bracket that goes to the block to the turbo. It's going to be that big old L bracket there. There's another bracket that's floating around. Now what we get to do is swap over this onto the new one, swap over our pipes. There is some gaskets we got to move over. Like I said, we got new lines we're going to be replacing on here. Wastegate's going to have to get transferred over. I think I'm really only going to, I don't know, I got to figure out how I'm going to mark this, but plan is to have to do as little adjustment as possible. Obviously don't want to have to deal with that headache, so we'll see how easy or complicated that is to swap over here in just a few minutes. And all this dirt, oil and dirt, everything built up in there. $130,000 miles worth of gunk, whatever. Just like that. There we go. Well, I guess instead of trying to screw this in silence, you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff from Composite Envisions, multiple molds, version 1, version 2, version 3's upstairs. Trying to make carbon airbox. Couldn't tell you why. Could not tell you why. Maybe because there's not one out there, I don't know. Much better things to do with my free time instead of spend hundreds of dollars trying to develop something. But it's fun. Keeps my hands and mind busy. So haven't checked in a while. Kind of really hard to show what we're doing without having a lift. But did have to remove this coolant hose as well as the thermostat. That really just helped with this big old block coming off the front of the bigger turbo to go back on. Engine mount arm, engine mount, the brackets, the one, and then there's 2 brackets underneath the turbo. Those are pretty much just loose right now because I want to make sure we get the turbos lined up before I go back and tighten them, and I'll still be able to get to them to tighten them. That was way too close to my face. Got the soft part of the return line back on. This little feed line right here is going to go to the distribution box. I left it loose for the time being until we get back to that part of it. Now I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with this wastegate to make sure that I get it lined up on here correctly and not have issues. Another day. Oh, I was in here till 3 a.m. my time. Lots of things that may or may not give you hiccups, but things were just not wanting to play well for me, so ended up just removing a bunch of stuff, and I think I started talking about that last night. Fan came out, and hose came out. I do still need to bolt this down all the way. It runs across to the engine block, but what we got here is new clamp and gasket down there. This drain line for the high pressure of the small turbo, just need to get underneath and tighten that up, and I have these hose clamps oriented to where I will be able to do that from underneath the vehicle. Realistically, I guess I could spin them around to where I could do it from the top. Wastegate actuator, so I might need to do some adjustment on it. I guess I'll find out, but try to keep this as still as possible. It may have moved a couple threads one way or the other, but I just took this 10mm off, swapped over the wastegate. It's held on by 313s, and there's one right there on the manifold, and then 2 underneath the big huge vacuum activated part of the wastegate. What do we got left? So I need to put this distribution box back on, which is held on by 5mm Allens. What else? But yeah, so all of them are held on by 2 except for this one, and that's how it was. So, and I don't recall having boost leaks before, but never know, might now. We'll see. Oh, here's the 2 5mm Allens for this. Like I said last night, I left this one loose, so that way that'll give me enough space, and when I tighten it, I'm gonna make sure it's not hitting the compressor or this drain line to the best of my ability. But I'll be able to easily get a socket and a ratchet in there, no problem. And new turbo line. Again, this is one of those ones I didn't go factory OE on, but we should be okay. And anyway, my old one wasn't leaking anyway, it's just kind of preventative in here, why not type of scenario. But you could use something like something that's going to be petroleum based, or something that'll break down in oil or fuel, and you could like Vaseline. If you have some type of like brake based lubricant that doesn't have friction material in it, those will help hold those crush rings in there too. But I mean, if everything's clean, you really shouldn't have, you know, any issue dropping them. but we all get butterfingers from time to time. Andrew Rodriguez to my Euro sells a complete bolt gasket set, as well as like FCP Euro. You know, it's again at your own discretion if you choose not to replace these, but I mean, mine aren't caked up, luckily. Last night while I was kicking, not throwing a tantrum type of kicking, but just kept moving around trying to get fight this lower turbo in here. That really was my biggest thing, was getting the lower turbo lined up. I mean, I don't know why the hell that thing was giving me so much issue, but my God, was it ever. And then last one, maybe. Well, obviously it's running. And I'm super glad that I labeled all of those vacuum lines, otherwise that would have been a disaster trying to remember where all that went back. I'm checking for obvious oil leaks at this point. And I don't see any. So, I'm gonna get to finish buttoning this thing up. Let it run again, obviously, and go for a little quick drive.